We want to turn now to our top story. The investigation continues into the fatal shooting of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside a New York City hotel early yesterday morning. Police say it was a targeted attack. The suspect fled the scene, and now a massive manhunt is underway. CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano joins me now with the very latest here on the streets of New York. So, Lilia, what are you hearing about the investigation at this hour?
Well, Vlad, there are so many layers to this investigation. I mean, it's been over 24 hours, and of course, New Yorkers are asking, where is this person? Right now, the NYPD, along as part of a task force, along with U.S. Marshals, are trying to find this fugitive. What they've done is they're canvassing all of the video surveillance from buildings, from businesses, from homes across Manhattan, and following all the trail that he followed from the point that he left this site where the shooting took place all the way to through Central Park, all the way to from Midtown Manhattan. Apologies, this is falling off. To the Upper West Side, where he was last seen riding a bicycle. Right now, the NYPD is trying to close in on him, and what we're hearing is that there are reports that they're getting close to a building somewhere close to the Upper West Side to perhaps execute a search warrant. We know that there was a warrant for the hotel room, not here in the Hilton, but the Marriott, where Thompson was staying. They're also evaluating possible DNA evidence that might have been left behind at the Starbucks where the shooter or the alleged shooter had purchased something using cash. And they're also looking, of course, at motive. Motive is obviously a big part. Police seem to understand that this was a targeted shooting. And of course, a lot of obvious indications to that are part of this investigation, including the shell casings that were found where the shooting took place, shell casings that had been written with a Sharpie with the words deny, defend, and depose, which some experts seem to believe is some kind of, or could be, some kind of reference to words that are used by people who advocate against the practices of healthcare companies. All of that, of course, is part of this investigation, but I would say that the most urgent, the most active part is trying to find this person, whether he was whether he was staying at a hostel where there are reports that police might be surrounding, and how close they might be. He, of course, seems to have evaded some of the surveillance as he crossed through Central Park, but the rest is on video because this, at the end of the day, is New York City.
Indeed. Lilia Luciano for us, reporting from New York this morning. Thank you, Lilia.
We are following new developments out of New York City on the search for a gunman who shot and killed the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Brian Thompson. NYPD executed a search warrant for a building they believe the suspect stayed in. CBS News also confirms law enforcement found shell casings at the crime scene with the words deny, defend, and depose written on them. Now, surveillance video outside New York City's Midtown Hilton caught the moment early Tuesday. The shooter got out from behind a parked car, pointed a gun at Thompson's back, and then shot twice. Now, Thompson was set to speak at an investor meeting at the Hilton and was about to enter the building when the gunman shot him. The 50-year-old took the lead of a health insurance company back in 2021 after running its Medicare and retirement business. Now, a law enforcement source tells us the suspect used cash to buy Starbucks before then waiting outside of the Hilton Hotel. We also have new video of the suspect moments after the shooting. NYPD said he eventually ran off on foot down an alleyway and then rode an e-bike into Central Park where he was last seen. Now, police say the gunman waited for Thompson starting at about 6:39 a.m. Thompson then walks to the Hilton 5 minutes later, and then the shooting happens. And at 6:48, the gunman is seen there riding his bike on Center Drive in Central Park. Thompson is taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead just after 7:10 in the morning. Now, authorities believe this is a targeted attack. They also believe the suspect's proficiency with unjamming the weapon during the incident suggests that he has experience with guns. CBS News senior coordinating producer on crime and public safety unit, Anna Schechter, joins us now to go over all of this, and there's a lot. Welcome, Anna. Good morning to you. Let's start with the search warrant. What can you tell us about that?
Good morning. Well, police last night executed a search warrant on a building on the Upper West Side in the high 90s on Columbus Avenue near the Frederick Douglass housing complex. Why there? Well, surveillance footage that they screened yesterday showed the suspect entering a building in that vicinity. We don't have the exact address. We are drilling down on that, but it was near that housing project in or around there. And so that search happened last night. We can report this now on CBS News. So we will see if that helped police close in on the identity of the suspect. And I just heard that we expect before noon to see more photos of the suspect that show a little bit more of his face. That indicates to me that they're still wanting the public to give in tips about his whereabouts, that he still is at large. Liz?
And Anna, one of the more cryptic pieces of evidence was the words deny, defend, and depose written on the bullet shells found at the crime scene. Any meaning behind those words that investigators are finding?
Well, sources tell CBS News, tell my colleague Pat Milton, they were meticulously written in a Sharpie pen, and law enforcement are looking at whether those words pertain to how the insurance company might have responded to claims requests. There's a book out there examining the insurance and critical of the insurance company industry and how they make it difficult for patients to get coverage or to get reimbursed for high medical costs. And so it's not definitive, but investigators are certainly looking at this as potentially pointing to a motive, Liz.
And Anna, we mentioned that the suspect visited a Starbucks before the shooting and he paid cash at that Starbucks. What else are police going to be looking for in terms of that visit to the Starbucks coffee chain?
Well, they're looking for DNA evidence. So they certainly did a forensic sweep of the Starbucks, also of they did a forensic analysis of a water bottle and a candy bar wrapper that he might have purchased at the Starbucks that were dropped at the scene, as well as his cell phone. It's still unclear. We can't yet report that that cell phone belonged to the shooter, but police are certainly investigating and if it in fact was, and if there were any fingerprints on that. At this time, we can't report. We don't know if DNA or fingerprint data has pointed to any specific individual. And that can be tricky. Sometimes there's partial DNA or a partial fingerprint, and they just need more evidence. So right now it appears that we're still in that phase of the investigation where a lot of questions are unanswered.
Sure. All right. CBS News senior coordinating producer on crime and public safety, Anna Schechter. Thank you so much.
Let's go back to New York City and the search for the gunman who shot and killed the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, Brian Thompson. Now, you got to see this. These are the words written on the bullets. Another headline, NYPD getting a search warrant for a youth hostel where they believe the suspect stayed. Now, this is a twist, what you're looking at, and what sounds more like a movie, but CBS News confirms that police found these shell casings belonging to the bullets that killed Mr. Thompson. The words on your screen were also on those casings. Deny, defend, depose, written on the casings. Now, police are putting together a timeline, and this map brings that timeline to life on our monitor. So look closely. 6:39 a.m. Tuesday, the gunman in position, waiting for his victim outside New York City's Midtown Hilton. 5 minutes later, Thompson walks to that hotel, then the shooting, then the getaway. That entire attack from arrival to escape happening in less than 9 minutes. By 6:48, the shooter on an e-bike, Center Drive, Central Park. Not long after, the murderer got away. Doctors pronounced Mr. Thompson dead at 7:10 a.m. Now think about it. All of this happened, making international news in just 30 minutes. And look at this. This is surveillance video capturing the moment of that murder. The shooter out from behind a parked car, the gun pointed there. We, of course, freeze that video before Mr. Thompson falls. He's shot in the back. A fatal shot. That 50-year-old CEO stopped short of planning his appearance at an investor meeting. Let's go live right now to CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano. She's just outside that Midtown Hilton location. Lilia, police just released photos of the suspect's face, no mask on for the first time. we're also hearing about a search warrant. Tell us what you know at this hour.
Well, Reed, those photos are remarkably clear. I mean, the first thing you think of when you look at those photos is, if that's somebody I know, I would absolutely recognize them. That's what a lot of people are talking about on social media. It's also the kind of image that allows for facial recognition technology to spot that person and, match it to any other records that there might be out there using his biometric data, or at least, his facial features. The other part is the search warrant. Here's what we know. We know that there is a youth hostel where the nightly range goes anywhere from $80 to $300 a night. Youth hostels, I'm not sure about this one in particular, but are places where you can pay cash, where people stay, multiple people in one room. And in this hostel in the Upper West Side, effectively New York police, NYPD, executed a search warrant. There were many people staying there. We have teams over there trying to talk to folks and see what they know and if anybody got to know this person. The images that we showed, the clear images without any mask or any covering to the face that you see, are from the hostel. Those are not from the Starbucks. Those are not from the scene of the crime. They're from the hostel, from the youth hostel. And so police are asking for people for information. They're also, as you said, canvassing the videos from all of the surveillance cameras that could have captured him from here to the last image that they have of him. And so it's been more than 24 hours, but hopes are high that using technology and the task force, they'll be able to catch this person. Reed?
CBS News correspondent Lilith Luciano, it's so great to have you on CBS News 24/7. Thank you for that. We're going to dig a little deeper now and go to CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman in New York. Ricky, you know the NYPD, and I've got to ask you about the words that were written on those shell casings. Deny, defend, depose. Listen, if that doesn't speak to motive, I don't know what does. But it also makes me think that this killer knows that police will figure out his identity. What's your read on that?
Well, it certainly does speak to motive. There can be no doubt about it, especially if you compare those words to the book that was published in 2010 about insurance companies that deny claims. And that book was called Delay, Deny, Defend. So you have one switch of one word, but two of the other words. You also have to remember that there have been protests at the headquarters in Minnesota by people who feel that UnitedHealthcare has not been good to them about their claims and has denied coverage. So is he one of those people? Does he want to be caught? Does he want to go down in infamy? That is always a possibility. Or is he one of those people who likes to tease the police and say, catch me if you can? The NYPD does not like to be teased, and the NYPD, with all of the faith that I have in them, in addition to the fact that their new commissioner, Jessica Tisch, when she was there in an earlier capacity, she was head of technology. So not only does she understand how it works, she's at the forefront of technology, and facial recognition is one of her things. So I do think that this crime is going to be solved, plus the fact at the moment, you have, Reed, a modest reward. Certainly, UnitedHealthcare could come up with a big reward if they don't get sufficient tips to the police very soon. And there always are people who might just come forward because they're good citizens, but there are some people who will come forward because they know that there's money at the end of their coming forward.
Right, and we're starting to see as you and I talked about yesterday, the surveillance video and especially that up-close shot of him without his mask. What are police going to look for in that mask and then also in the information left behind at the Starbucks that figures into this story?
Well, they're looking for DNA. One of the things we know actually from watching a fictional television series that deal a great deal with forensics, let alone true crime documentaries that we see presented on cable, presented on networks, also presented on places like Paramount Plus, where you can look through facial recognition and it can go spinning through jillions of faces until they find a match. In addition to that, we're looking at DNA. If they can find DNA on those shell casings, on those bullets, inside the room, let alone if they locate the mask, we know they've picked up a cell phone. If it is his cell phone, they have all kinds of leads here. People who say, well, they haven't found him in 24 hours, so he must just be gone. It doesn't matter if he's gone. They will find him.
Ricky Kleeman, a family planning a funeral, and a fascinating conversation once again here on CBS News 24/7. Thank you so much for your insight and your expertise.